All right, great, thanks. So again, brief introduction here. Again, my name is Scott Burke. I'm the AC Cloud Services Program Manager. So I'm just kind of our key liaison between Autodesk and our internal technical staff and our salespeople. And then Brian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, and I'm Brian Tuffin on the AEC side, engagement engineer, and I am a technical consultant on solutions providing on the AE side. Thanks,
All right,
Scott.
great, thanks. Yep, thank you. So again, briefly about IMAGINiT. So IMAGINiT Technologies is of course an Autodesk Platinum reseller partner. We have, of course, 40 plus years of experience as a company, but really that's hundreds of man hours when it comes to our actual technical staff. Over the past couple of years, we have 35,000 satisfied customers. We are one of the largest. I'm not sure if we're the largest, but we're close as one of the largest partners with Autodesk. And we have, as you can see here, 135 plus for technical team members on our staff, just on the technical side of things. We have dedicated support teams. We have our own customer advocacy team. And we also have a dedicated even data management and facilities management teams, and we do simulations and things like that, and software development teams. So we really have a wide area of expertise to really service our customers in the design and construction industry, and really all the industries that are anything to do with design, mechanical, civil design, and so on. So again, you know, our intention here is we're a problem solver. We sell the software as part of the solution, but really it's about coming in and seeing what your problems are with the technology and how to better integrate them, and hopefully reduce costs, improve quality, and so on, boost that productivity, and so on there. And again, we're consulting and professional. We have consulting and professional solutions. We do everything from, of course, training, but we do BIM and CAD management types of services, building lifecycle management on the facility side, content development, data management. I don't have to read through all these things. I think you guys can read through that. So we really just have a wide breadth of experience into all of these areas. So today's webcast agenda here is going to be about the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Autodesk Docs primarily is really going to be the focus on how AutoCAD can be leveraged in that environment. I want to talk about why Autodesk Docs to AutoCAD workflows. You know, why can you add Autodesk Docs to the AutoCAD workflows? And of course, we're going to really spend most of our time kind of demoing kind of this process or a way to do that. So the first thing I just want to talk about, though, is the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and clear up some terminologies and things along those lines. And first of all, here too, Autodesk Construction Cloud is a term for all of Autodesk's current cloud-based design and construction technology. Autodesk Construction Cloud is not a product. There's no such thing as I need to learn ACC. It's not that. That's not how it works. They're the products within this. BIM 360, which is the previous iteration of this, is the Autodesk Construction Cloud still. So the Autodesk Construction Cloud basically spans everything from the design world through planning, through construction management, and even operation when we look at facilities management. And over the past couple of years, Autodesk has made a continued investment in different technologies. So they have their own homegrown technology, which is really built from the ground up internally, which is the BIM 360 platform. Then over the past couple of years, they've acquired some other programs such as PlanGrid, Building Connected, or I should say, Assemble Systems, PlanGrid, things like that. So they basically acquired those and then built originally some integrations, you know, plugins, essentially bridges, so that these things could communicate with each other. And what Autodesk is now working on and is already significantly completed is the unification of all of these tools that were kind of written in different languages into the new unified platform. And that's what's basically going on right now. A whole host of these things have already been all combined into that unified platform. So we have, obviously, Autodesk Docs is the new document management solution, which includes BIM 360 Docs and Autodesk Docs. Same one tool, all within the Construction Cloud. And Autodesk Docs is the primary product, and then you can choose the platform to work in, BIM 360 or Unified. What we are talking about today, of course, is all the things in the Unified platform. And BIM Collaborate is part of that. BIM Collaborate Pro, Autodesk Takeoff, Autodesk Build, all of these things are all part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud there. and part of the latest, in this case, the unified platform, the unified products. So, and let's go back here, actually, back when we look at Autodesk Docs, which is what we're talking about. And that's kind of that premier solution. It's the foundation for all the Autodesk Construction Cloud products out there. All of them are built on top of Docs. Docs becomes the kind of standard document management, project-focused document management engine. And it's all about managing the files for the project, sharing them with the various different stakeholders in the project. And regardless as to which tool that you use, whether it be just Docs, Collaborate, Collaborate Pro, Autodesk Takeoff, Autodesk Build, it's all in one central repository, the same project, the same data, all in one place. That's really what it's all about. So again, in this presentation, we're really focused on Autodesk Docs and how AutoCAD can interact with it. So when we look at the Autodesk Docs environment here, again, it's all about document control. It also has some built-in tools for document approvals and things like that and so on there. So it's all about setting up folders and folder structures and controlling who can view what based on someone's name, based on the company that they work for, or based on what their job function is, your job title, project manager, for instance. It's about making sure that we always have the current document as the main one, but we still have access to all previous iterations and versions of that document, can compare them and so on there. We can mark up our drawings in the cloud there. We can be in any company, you can basically go into your office supply closet and throw all the red pens away and use this as your tool to manage all your markups and making sure that they're getting tracked and such. And with those markups as the issue management tool to ensure markup is being dealt with and it's assigned to someone and pertinent information is included and the entire team is informed about these issues and so on. Then we get into the management of the issues and seeing all the issues and who's assigned to them and when they're due and when they're past due and all those other things. Then we also have an ability to do document approvals where we can take a particular document or a set of documents and put them through an approval process that has to go through as many steps as you need, 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, 5-step group approvals. You can create your own approval workflows, basically. So, with that here, I'm going to move on to let Brian just talk about, why we want to have Autodesk, why AutoCAD is, of course, still relevant in today's workflows. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead and talk about that here?
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Scott. So why is AutoCAD a relevant platform? Well, majority of the people out there are using some sort of drafting program that is a flat 2D basis. If they're not using it, they have to access that data for legacy projects, so on and so forth. One of the challenges that a lot of people face in a CAD-based environment is how do we share those files? The person we're sharing the files with, do they have AutoCAD? What version of AutoCAD? How are they going to view those files? Well, they don't have AutoCAD, so I'm going to generate a PDF. So I've got a floor plan PDF that I'm sharing with 3 different people, and each person does different markups. Or maybe one of them has AutoCAD, or multiple have AutoCAD. Everybody's made markups, made a little bit of changes, and how do we bring that information back in? We need to update our master. How do we share that information, absorb that information, and turn it into one cohesive plan that hopefully we didn't miss any? One of the different challenges that I see. Next slide, please. With the Autodesk Construction Cloud, or the unified platform, the Docs module, we get the ability to start sharing this information. It is a cloud-based environment, so we can grant people access and permissions to those files. Whether it's DWG, Excel file, Word document, or even a PDF. Yes, we can still leverage our PDFs. Your end users get to choose how, when, and where they want to access those files. Do we want to access it directly from AutoCAD? Do we want to use a built-in viewer? Or do we want to edit that Word document directly inside of the cloud? Next slide. With Autodesk Docs, all of the above is an option. Autodesk Docs is a full file sharing platform, multiple file formats that can be natively viewed controlled, edited, even marked up. It is a cloud-based environment, so you're no longer tied to your network, VPNing in or remote desktoping into your environment to gain access to the files. Anywhere you have internet access, whether it's a personal connection, a hotspot out there, or maybe even your mobile device as a connectivity tool, all fully usable to be able to access your information. One of the other major enhancements is being able to track changes, see what's changed from file version to file version, inside of AutoCAD or outside of AutoCAD. So with the web-based viewer, we can see what's changed from version to version and who made those changes. One of my personal favorite components inside of here is the design review. So as I'm sending a plan out or a design out to the owner, to clients, to subs, to review and make comments back on it, I can grant them specific levels of permissions to where they can mark up, request additional information, or submit issues to me. And all of that information is tracked directly on top of the authoring tool file platform, which could be a DWG. Next slide, please. So ultimately, what's the goal of the Autodesk Docs platform? The goal of the Autodesk Docs platform is to provide a single source of truth. One place everyone goes to access the information that they need, mark up the information, see the changes, and ultimately save time within communication. Now, one way I like to save time is through assigning accountability. Instead of relying on emails, somebody opening it, sending it back, forgetting to put it in Dropbox for me, or whatever your current solution is, I can instantly see who has done what and at what time on my projects. Next slide. So as we go down through this path, we will start taking a look at a live environment of what a project setup looks like, what some of the permissions are, what some of the viewing and markup capabilities are, and then I'll come back and walk you through what an AutoCAD workflow for your end user would look like. Ultimately, for the end user, very minimal impact of where the user is going to go to open a file and continuously work on a day-to-day basis. They're just going to point to the cloud instead of your server or your network. Next slide. So with that, I'll turn it back to Scott, and we will go into the live portion of this demonstration. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Brent. So let me go ahead and, oops, wrong thing here. Go over to my actual Docs product. So here I've logged in. You can search for your different projects here and go into the various different projects. I could go, for instance, back over to my big box mart project that I have for another client or another thing I'm doing right here. Or again, very easily switch back to this project right here with Brian. Oops, make sure I'm doing the right search there. I can also create bookmarks to the project as well, right up here. So I have quick bookmarks. There we go. So everything here is very project focused, right? Everything is about going to your project and all the data for that project is in one place. And on that project right here, I have, the different areas of the docs. We have files, reviews, transmittals, issues, reports, members, and settings there. And then really the meat of it, of course, though, is the kind of folder structure for your project, whatever folders you want to create in any way that you'd like to create them. So I have my hotel project, I have DWG files right here, I have another project here, another file, other buildings maybe on a common site, maybe it's one project, but it's just different buildings on the site. I have other things I can also share here, of course, but the key here about these folders is that I can go into them and then go to the permissions, and I basically get put into a permissions mode here. And now I can control who has access to this folder. So right here for this project, the BIM manager and of course me and Brian in this case are both administrators, so we have full access. And I've also added in the ability to let the BIM manager, anyone who has that role assigned to them will have the managed abilities for this project too. And then they could say, hey, I'd like to come in and manage things by a company name. Like I could go ABC here, bring in my structural company and let everyone as part of the structural company have view and download rights only to this folder. So they can view and they can download things in this folder. Or I could say, and I want to add John Jones as a person from that other company. So he's from the MEP company, and I'll give him just view rights, just as an example of different ways you can restrict different views of different people. So now I have control based on someone's name, based on someone's job function, based on someone's company. So I can control all those different ways that people see these folders. So certain people would come in here, and based on the company they belong to, they may only see one folder or 6 or 3, depends on what their roles are and what their functions are on the job are going to control what they can see with this environment. If I just want to pull access, I just hit remove, and now no one at the structural company has access to this folder. I can remove this too, and now John Jones no longer has access to anything within this particular folder and or subfolders. So that's an important aspect of the software, is that ability to really control exactly what people need to see within that environment. It also becomes a universal viewer. I can come in here and take a look at any file. These are PDF files. I can open up the PDF file and view that file here and see that I have access to previous iterations, different versions. When I go to an older version of the file, I'm warned that it's not current. So I can view pretty much all the kind of standard industry formats out there. I can open up an AutoCAD file and view an AutoCAD file. And I don't have to own AutoCAD or know anything about AutoCAD. I can go in and view a Revit model. And here's a Revit model. I don't have to know anything about Revit or a 3D AutoCAD file or Navisworks or even MicroStation or Inventor or SolidWorks. Those can all be viewed in this environment. So now again, I can open up, this Revit model and have access to all that data and all the properties within that object as well. So here's the properties of that wall right here, properties of the door. So I have access to all of this information. It becomes a universal viewer. If there are sheets as part of the Revit set, I have access to those sheets in the Revit model as well. So again, this becomes an incredibly powerful tool for viewing just about everything. I could go into photos here, and I'll just view that as a larger thumbnail so that we can view the photos here, of course. So like I said, it's specification documents in here, and I could, again, view PDFs, or if I look at my fire alarm one, some of these are actually Word files. I can view the Word file here, those types of things. Those all become, becomes a universal viewer for all those documents. If I have a Microsoft Office account, then I can actually go in and actually edit the file directly here and go in and, change the project name. So I'm adding that to the document just because I needed to make a quick edit to it. And it's automatically saving, and then I could just hit return to go back to the document. And just in making that edit, that document basically now becomes version 2, right? So now there's going to be 2 versions of that document in this folder. It'll take a little while and it'll become, see, it's version 2 because I made the edit. I can see that there are different versions of those documents here. I could go back to the first one. I could even make that current. I could go to this one right here, of course, which when you open it, it always opens the current version, and the current version is going to show, of course, the current edits of that document and so on. But I always have access to, the previous iteration. So there's the edit I made, and then I can go back to version 1, which of course is before that edit was made, and see the project name's not there, right? And then I can go back to version 2 here, or the current version, and I can see those changes there and so on. So again, this just becomes that master location that I can store all my project-related files. And we'll get into this later. We have the review process here. These are reviews that are currently in play. There are transmittals and transmittals that have been sent. Here are all my issues that might be in the project right now that are being dealt with. We just have one issue right now. And there's other tools for reporting and so on, where I can basically get reports on anything in the project and even create scheduled reports that report on all the issues in a project and are sent out to all the project members, all the issues that are due this week or due next week and so on there. So all those things can be done, through this mechanism where I can come in here and I have a issue status summary or an issue detail report. I can create a report. I can create a detailed issue report, which would take all the issues and only the issues that are created in the past 7 days. And I can give that report a name. I could call it demo here, just so it has a name based on this demo here. And I can run the report, but I also have the choice of, yes, I'd like to save it so I can use it later, run it and save it. And then I can actually go in and take this report because it now exists. And for this template over here that I've now created, I can go in and I can schedule that report. So this report is going to happen maybe every Monday morning at 8 a.m. It's a weekly report, and then I would share that with my project members. So I could just say, hey, everyone at these companies here, all these project members, this report's going to be sent to. Or I could send it to individuals, or I could even send it to people who don't have a license to the system. I can just randomly type in anyone's email address and have this PDF report sent to them once a week at 8 a.m. every day. So these are just all the things that kind of Docs does for you. It's basically a master repository for all data around the project. So I set my project up. I had invited Brian in. I've given him access to the certain folders where he needs to do his work. So he has a hotel project file, there's a drawings folder, and here are the different areas where he needs to work. So I've set this up for him as the manager of the project. So with that, why don't we talk about the AutoCAD workflow? So we'll have Brian work through that here. So I'm going to make him the presenter here. There we go. All right, Brian, so you can take control now, and we'll talk about how you would use this from the AutoCAD viewpoint.
Thank you. You guys should be seeing my screen now.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. So I'm back on the website where Scott left off, and I'm inside of my project. I'm going to go into the document side here. And as Scott mentioned, looking at the document side, I'm going to focus in the hotel projects area. I've got a bunch of DWGs, some PDF, and okay, I need to get some more files up here into my support files area I need to share with people. Permissions wise, I can start to assign permissions and add people to this if I want to. Now, maybe I need to send this out to somebody that's not necessarily on Docs, but I do have the ability to also share this with a non-user so that a non-Docs user can download the file and see it. That's the limitation of it. They can download it, make changes, email it back, and we can publish it. But we're not limited just to Docs users to be able to see information. How do I get files in here? Oh, for me, one of the easy ways to get files inside is to go ahead and just grab that file and drag and drop it in. That is one easy way. It will go through an upload process. It will tell you, hey, so much completed. As soon as it's done, it will generate a viewing capability of it. But every now and then, I've got a folder that contains subfolders and a bunch of files. Here I've got my drawing file. I've got some images that I want to put inside of there, and I've also got some spec information. It could be notes, it could be a Word document, it could be an Excel file inside of it. I found, personally, one of the easy ways to get files from your server onto a project to get started is to leverage Explorer. Just like Dropbox, we have Autodesk Docs connection here, where I can go through and select the IMAGINiT hub. It's going to give me a list of all the projects I've been assigned to. I'm picking my AutoCAD Workflow, and I'm finding my support file. From there, all I have to do is just drag and drop those in. I've got a little progress bar happening here on the other side, but I didn't move it over quick enough. It happens that quick. These files are now being uploaded into my Autodesk Unified Platform. And you'll see them starting to show up and starting to generate preview versions. That's what this little refresher icon is going to be. Now, what you can do is go ahead and run a refresh. Since this is a browser-based interface, it's not an instant update, and it's going to take a few minutes for it to generate that preview. Preview's done. So this first floor, structural floor plan, you know what? That's a file that I'm using as a reference. I personally don't want anyone to ever make a change to it. So there's a few things. I could control it at a permissions level basis if I wanted to, or I can grab that file in my browser and I can start to tell it how I want it to behave. I can choose to sync this to my desktop so that it always stays 100% connected and updated. I can choose to delete it, rename it. Although when you delete things, they're not quite ever deleted. They're always in a recycling bin for recovery. I could view it online directly from my browser, or I could choose to lock that file. And here in just a moment, a padlock will show up. Now, I'm the only one that can unlock it. People could open it in AutoCAD, but they could never make changes to it. For simplicity here, I'm just going to go ahead and unlock that file. Viewing capabilities. So let's go into the DWGs. Since Scott set up this file structure here for me, he set up an architectural team, a structural, and an MEP team inside of here. So in the permissions, architecture would have full access to theirs, MEP, and structural. But I would give structural and MEP viewing capabilities of my files. That way we can practice linking if we want to, or XREFing inside of here. In the architectural side, you'll notice I have a couple of floor plans here, and I've also got a base. So most likely I would share my base floor plans with my structural and MEP so that they can see them. Now, I know a lot of people are click happy, so they just click on a file to open it. If I click on it in the browser, it's not going to open AutoCAD. Really, the best process would be, instead of going to open like we're used to in AutoCAD, let's just go down to the Autodesk Docs. Let me maximize that for you. Just go down and select Autodesk Docs. It will come up with a list of all the projects you've been invited to. You select your project, and then you can go into your project folders. So take a look at it. Project files here. I'm going to go into my hotel project folders, my DWGs, my architectural, and then I can get access to the DWGs there, or I can go into my base file. Now, something that's kind of key to note here, if I'm a user and I've been granted access to just the architectural files here, when I go to projects, I would just see the architectural files folder. I'm not going to have to dive all the way down into the folder structure. It would just give me the architectural team and the files to be able to see them. So in this case, I'm going to open up APML, architectural plan, main level, and take a look at what's happening here. So it's going to take just a moment. It is downloading an updated cache version. What that means, it's going out to check and see if anything's been changed on the file. Take a look at it, make any changes I might want to, manipulate it, work around inside of it. It's completely up to you on what you want to do. I'm going to grab a color that might be a little bit easier to see here. Let's go for a green glazing, and I'm going to put a big old circle right here in the middle. Oh, let's go ahead and pick the circle command instead of a line command here. And I'm going to save this file. Well, before I save it, I want to go back to our web interface. And on the web interface, you'll notice that file is locked. As soon as I open it, it locked it, and it tells everybody that Brian Tuffin locked it, what date and what time. I'm currently working inside. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to open up another file. I'm going to open up my main level floor plan here. Notice it takes just a moment to go ahead and read it and the backgrounds. And when I take a look at it, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and get rid of my white background, go into model space here. And you'll see, yes, I've got everything happening. My APML is XREF in. We can XREF through here. And then I've got some other stuff that's happening just inside of this base file. Since it's XREF, APML, where I made changes, I'm going to run a quick save on this file. Give it just a moment. All of our XREF update notifications are still going to happen as we're used to. I can go in and pick on it, tell it I want it to update inside of here, and it's going to start the amazing XREF compare, showing you what's changed from version to version. Now my backgrounds have been updated for me. At this point in time, all I would have to do is save my background, save my A100 sheet, and I am ready to start working. If I take a look at the web interface, You'll notice it's refreshing here. Instead of version 10, we're now at version 11. Now we're at version 3 on the main floor. So it's automatically tracking those changes for you. I'm going to get rid of the locks. Go ahead and close down that file. Close down that file. And you see it's thinking just a little bit. What it's doing is it's actually going through and thinking about removing that catalog. This is not instantaneous, but it's near instant inside of here. So open up the file. Inside of the web-based viewer, you'll notice I see all my changes of what's happening here. Now, I do get access to not just the model space view, I also get access to the sheet itself. So I can control what I want to see, what I want to view. As Scott mentioned in here, we also can see the versioning. But here's the first version, not the current version, and it's going to have it showing up as not having that circle with a line on it. I do personally like not current and right at the top, not current, so you know exactly where you are inside of these plans. With that, I think I'm going to turn things back over to Scott for you to take a little deeper look into it.
All right, great. So now we're back on my, all right, great, thank you. All right, so we're back on my screen now. So let's say I want to review some of the documents that Brian's working on. Maybe I'm the project manager here. So I'm going to go overhead into the architectural team, and I'm going to go into the main floor plan here. And in the main floor plan here, you know, there's different iterations. As Brian said, I can go down to the first iteration here. I can go down to a second iteration of that version. And again, and the second iteration, you notice here that we had a markup and a issue that was on that version of the document. Version 3, of course, there were no markups or issues or anything created there. And again, back on the most current release. So maybe you're looking here, and for whatever reason, this door here needs to basically be moved, right? It's for code reasons, whatever, we need another 6 inches there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my tools here, and I'm going to create an issue first. I'm going to create a design issue. And I'll put my design issue marker there. And I'm just going to give a title to this, and fire door relocation. So that's just kind of a general title of this issue, so it shouldn't be descriptive, really. It's really just, hey, this is fire door relocation is the issue. Okay, then I come down here and I say, here's a description, and we say we need to, let's say here, we'll need to move this fire door here north 6 inches. And I'll be nice, please. And we'll set that. So that's kind of a detailed description of what this issue is, right? And who do I want to do this? I could assign this to Brian. I could assign this to a role. I could assign this to anyone at a particular company. But I know Brian's the one who needs to do this, so I'm going to assign this to him personally. Now, watchers here, that's just, hey, FYI, it's a distribution list of people who watch the issue as it happens, right? Then down here, I can go to a due date, hey, and I would like this done by April 7th, right? It has to be done by then. And is there a root cause? Yeah, it's a code compliance issue. That's why we have to move that. And what I also have the ability here to assign this to other files. So I could, to support this, maybe there's under my specifications, I have a specification folder here, and maybe I have a general spec, and maybe there's something in there. I'm just going to assign the spec to this as a reference document. So now I've just assigned that little reference there, so anyone who gets the issue would have access to this. And I could have a comment about this, you know, Brian, please do this ASAP here. So I'll put that in there, and I'll submit that. But when I assign Brian to this particular issue, he just got a notification about that. Now, additionally here with this issue, what I'd also like to do is I like to mark it up. And a good rule of thumb is markups should never be by themselves. They should always accompany an issue. So I'm going to put a markup bubble around this area. And then I can come in here and I can control the border thickness of that markup right there. I can control, how big it is. I'll move it up a little bit here just to make it a little bit easier to view and so on. And then I could use another tool. I have different symbols, boxes, an arrow, for instance, and I could just point this up saying, hey, that needs to move up there, 6 inches there. And again, I can control with that particular element, its border color if necessary, its thickness, whatever I want for that element right here, this element right there. So the thickness of the border of it, the color of it, I can change and so on there. And maybe I'll throw a little piece of text right here. So I'll put a text indicator there and I'll make that font a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to come in here and go 6 inches. And I'll say border color. Maybe I don't want a box around the text. I don't need it. I just want a piece of text there, if you will, for lack of a better term. And I'll just put that little note right there. So right now, though, the only people that can see these markups are myself. No one else can see them. They're private, personal markups. I can now come over here and use my selection window and kind of select these markups right here. Just make sure I grab them all. And I can come in here and I can publish those markups. That means that everyone can now see those markups. They're basically available to everyone can see them. And I can look on the left side here. Here are any issues that are on this document. Here are any, if I look at the markup symbol, these are markups that are on this document. I could actually pick them individually and I could, publish them or unpublish them if necessary. So I can look at any one of these. So the text there, I must have missed that. So I can just publish that to make sure it's actually being published and everyone can see it. So now anyone that comes in here has that ability to come in and see those markups. They'll be able to see these markups, see those views and so on there. And like I was saying before, Brian just got an email notification that he has now been assigned that markup there. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch this back over to Brian and he can basically respond to the markup here. So you have control again, Brian, sorry.
Excellent. So you should be seeing on my screen the email that I got. So instantly, as soon as Scott filled that out, assigned it to me, I started getting notifications. Hey, there's an issue. Something's been assigned to you. You need to take a look at it. You'll notice in the background, I do have the unified platform open. We don't have to have it open. I'm provided instant links. You can either follow the hyperlink to that issue or view the issue itself. Both will get you to the same place. It's launching the internet for me. It would ask me to log in, and it would take me directly to that issue. You notice we had a previous one here. That was a previous door. That one had been closed, but I'm looking at the active one, issue number 2. So it's going to give me some basic information here. Status is open, type it's design, when it was created, what the due date is, what plan is affected by it, what floor plan, what CAD file, and any description that's got provided along with a spec PDF of what he's looking for inside. I don't have to personally go out and find that file. I can use the link. It's going to take me directly into the viewer to see what's going on. Oh, okay, I know what Scott's wanting. I just need to stretch this door, clean up some hatch patterns a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go into AutoCAD and take a look at that and get started. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to go into my base floor plan. Open up that base floor plan here. And I'm actually going to change a few things here just because I was playing around here. And I'm going to run a stretch here. I'm going to stretch that door up. Let's take it 6 inches. Hatch patterns weren't quite set right. I'm going to go ahead and cheat it. Please don't yell at me, anybody. I know I should have had a different hatch pattern here, a different way. I think that's going to cover everything he was wanting. I personally like to zoom extents anytime I save. Kind of a habit I have. So this is my base floor plan. Texture, structure, and MEP might be using. I went ahead and saved it, but the markups happen on the floor plan. I'm going to go ahead and go back to that floor plan, open it up so that I can get it updated. As soon as I zoom in here, you'll notice, yes, it has been moved. And I want to change the version that's showing up on the cloud. So all I have to do is run a save here on this floor plan. So now that's saved, I can go ahead and close out of it. I'll go back to AutoCAD here. Take a look at, go back to the web. Take a look at my A100 floor plan. It is refreshing here. I'll give it just a couple moments to do that. But while it's doing that, I can go back into my issues. I don't have to go back to my email. I can go into this issue itself, take a look at it, and instead of open, I'm going to change this to pending. And I want to give Scott a little bit of a note here. For people like me, I love the fact that it has spell check. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. Now, Scott will be able to see my comments back and forth and take a look at that. Scott, I'll go ahead and switch it over to you. Let you take control.
All right. I will do that right now. So we should be seeing my screen again here. So again, I would get an email from Brian or from the system indicating that issue has been done. But the real key here is your responsibility is not alleviated if you blocked the email, didn't get it, because ultimately this is where you should be looking to see if any of your issues that you have sent out have been resolved or are pending. So right here, this is my open issue that Brian now switched to pending to let me know that he did something to it. So I can go to the issue, I can see that it's been moved to pending, I can look on the bottom and say, oh, we already resolved it, please review that. Well, good, I'll use the hyperlink to go back to the document. It'll, of course, open up the current iteration, which is version 5. But what I want to do is version 4 is where I created the markup. Okay, he moved that. Let me confirm that. So I'm going to go back up here to version 5. So that's what I wanted him to move. And what I could even do is let's compare versions. Let's compare 4 against 5 and compare them. And then I can look in here and say, oh, yep, looks like he did that. So red is the new, blue is the old. I'll even go side by side here. And then I could see, well, that's where the door was, and he moved it up. Perfect. That's exactly what I needed there. Great. So I can close that document down. I can go back to my issues here, and I'm going to mark this issue as completed. So I can take that issue. I'll go down to the bottom here, and I'll just say, great, thanks, or something like that. So, oops, sorry. There we go. And I'll say, oops, nice spelling there. Let me get back here. Thanks for doing this so quickly. So I'll just put that as a comment. And then I'm going to mark this issue as closed. Or if I'm not done with it, I could leave it in review for my own personal. I'm going to go back and maybe I want someone else to look at it first. You agree with this? Yep, great. And let me go ahead and change that to now a closed issue. And now the issue is closed. It's dealt with. It's no longer a pending issue. Essentially, the issue is completed, through its life cycle there. And again, I always have the ability to see all the issues. I can filter this view to only show issues that are, for instance, open. So, hey, are there any open issues right now? Nope, all the open issues are dealt with. Well, how about what issues are closed? Show me just the closed issues, any issues that are pending. Nope, nothing's pending. So there's a lot of filtering capabilities. You can filter by company, by type, by category, by issues that are just related to codes, whatever you want. So you have a lot of filtering capabilities, but ultimately, email is not even part of this equation. All the communication is happening here and only here, and this is what counts. Email is a convenience for notification purposes, but again, doesn't alleviate anyone's responsibility of dealing with these issues, because at any time, anyone can come into this project, see if they have any issues assigned to them, and that's the ultimate responsibility here. And again, creating the central source of truth, and that's really the key here, is basically, putting in that, that whole central source of truth, that one single place that everyone goes to for all the data related to a project. So I want to pass this back over to Brian here, so we could do talk about the approval workflow here. So let me go ahead and switch that over back to Brian.
Excellent. So I now got a bunch of work completed. I think my CAD file is ready to go. we've got a controller or a standards checker that needs to review it, or maybe the project architect needs to take a look at it. This role is going to be handled by Scott, so I'm going to go ahead and select, and I'll just grab my A100 floor plan for this point. And I can go ahead and submit this for a review process. Now, this doesn't have to be internal. This can be submitted out to an outside person for review. So when submitting a drawing out for a review, I need to choose a workflow. We've already developed workflows inside of here and saved them off inside of the project template. So once the first one's created, it's pretty simple. I'm going to create that workflow. Gives me the DWG. I can give this workflow a name if I want to. Review here and go ahead and submit it. Scott has already been assigned to this one as controller. Oh, sorry, John Jones.
Yeah, he's going to be the reviewer. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead and just go there.
Yep, has already been assigned to this one. I can apply additional message to John and go ahead and send that off. John should have received an email. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to you, Scott.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So I am back here. So Brian has submitted a document for the review. Whomever is the first person who is designed to review that document will be notified. I'm going to take on that role of that person. But any active reviews are going to show up in this review area. See, this one is closed. These two here are basically open right there. So I can go ahead and I can open up this review. And I see John Jones is pending. So he's the next person who needs to basically review this. Now, because I'm an administrator, I can take over. But John Jones would see this. He would start his review process. So now he's accepted the review. He's in the review processing. And you can see this is a timeline. There's an initiator. We're now in the initial review. And there's only an initial and a final review. I could have 6 steps in here if that's what I needed to do. So now that person can come in here. John Jones can open the document, look at it, add additional comments if necessary. But, hey, this all looks exactly right. No problems there. Perfect. So I'm just going to add some comments to this as John Jones say, this looks good to me. To me, no issues. Great. So he adds that little comment in there. So now he's done with his comments. He's going to submit the review to the next person, to the final reviewer in this case. Done. And he can send some notes, all set. No issues. This is just basically what gets added to the notification email, and I submit that. So I can come in here and let other people know I'm notifying the reviewer that it's ready for him to go ahead and review that. So now it's in the final review, and I'm assigned as the final reviewer here. So I'm going to start the review, just accepting that I'm in the review mode. I can leave this page and come back right now. I'm just accepted the review, and I've started it. So now I can see, there are comments here. Oh, there's one comment right there. Oh, and this previous reviewer said this looks good to me, no issues. Good. Well, that's fine with me. I'm just managing the process. So I'm going to set this as approved. I could reject it. I could approve it with comments. In this case, I'm going to approve it and submit the review and let everyone know who was involved with the review process that I'm finalizing it, and I'd submit it. Now the review is completed. Now in this case, when the review gets completed, it actually takes a copy of the drawing and actually puts it into a different folder. Okay, so that's what's unique. It depends on how you set your reviews up. This specific one actually takes the review document that has been completed and actually moves it into a review documents folder, right? So this is the document that I basically just approved. And you notice over here, if I look to the right, now that's version 1 in this folder. This is the review drawings folder. And I go back over here and I can see the status right here is approved right here, or approved with comments, or rejected, of course. If it was rejected, it would not have been copied into this folder. Now it's also approved in the authoring location right here. If I look to the right, see it's approved. But notice that this is version 5 of the document. But in the reviewed folder, because this is the first time it's been put in there, this is version 1 of the first approved document. Now back over here, I could have 10 more iterations. I could be in version 21, and then Brian would send version 21 over for the next review. Maybe there's an update, an addition, an addendum to the plan. He would then send his 11th version for review. Goes through the review process. When it gets reviewed, it gets dumped into the reviewed drawings folder that only the contractor can see. He doesn't have access to these other folders, as an example. And then this would become version 2 of the second review document. But there might, as I said before, be many iterations beforehand up here as well. And I can send anything for a review. I mean, I could go in and, for instance, I had some specs here. Maybe I wanted all the specs in this electrical folder and there's only one to be reviewed. I could come in here, use that review process again, so submit for review, and I have one for specs, specification review. And again, I could give that a spec review name. It would go through the process and the same steps, except this case, it just approves the documents in place. So when I look at my fire alarms right here, these documents, most of them have been through a review process except for these two. That one was rejected, so I have to send it through another review process after I update it. This one's approved, this is updated, but approved with comments and so on. So I can just approve things in place, or when they are approved, they could actually move, to another folder. Now, another feature in here beyond reviews is something here called transmittals. So this is just a way of gathering a bunch of documents and saying, hey, these are part of they're basically like a milestone snapshot. Because when you save a transmittal, it takes whatever the current version of them, it collects them and puts them together. And that way, if the documents then get revised, it's been a couple of months later and I send the same documents again for a transmittal, they're the second group of documents. So I can come in here, and it's almost like taking a snapshot of your models as they are right now. So I could say, hey, I want to create a snapshot of all the files that are as they are right now, right? So I want to create a transmittal, and I can come in here and I can add whatever files I want. So maybe I'll start with some of the spec documents, and I could come in here and I could pick, that file, and I want to pick, this file here. So I can go through and, pick all the different files I want to make as part of this transmittal, right? So maybe that one and maybe some general specs, just that file. And then I'm also going to go into the hotel project here, and I want to include as part of this transmittal in the architectural team just the main floor plan right there. And I'm going to create a transmittal from those documents. And I'm going to give this, project milestone. And I'll just put today's date, 03.30.22 there. And who am I sending this to? Maybe I'm going to send this to everyone on the team just as a record, just as an example there. Or I could save it, send it to just Brian, or Brian and John Jones as an example here. And I save that. I can put a message here, and I'll just call it milestone completion, and create. It just groups the files together. The transmittal has basically been sent here. It's a pretty straightforward process here. So now that I've done that, what Brian can do, and I'll just let him do that, even though I could probably do it here, but go ahead, Brian. So why don't you go ahead and go to the transmittals and just see that they've been sent to you.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, email is not needed inside of here, but email is kind of nice because it does notify you that something is pending inside of here. So I can either choose to view transmittal directly from my email inside of here, or I can go to my transmittals itself. And from here, you're going to notice I have two transmittals, one that we previously did, and here's the current one. It's a milestone, who all's a part of it. There's 8 files inside of here. I can go ahead and grab that and choose to download as a zip, or I can take a look and view each file independently, leveraging the built-in viewer capabilities inside of here. The thing I personally like is it holds accountability of when Scott sent this to me, when I got it, when I accepted it, and when I started viewing that information. Back to you, Scott.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Brian. So I'll go back to myself here, and I will show my screen. So again, that's really all that this really is useful for, is proof that you sent the files out. But what I like about it is it takes a snapshot of the files as they are now. That's why the versions are listed here, right? So this is version 5. This is the version that was saved. Now, like I said, Brian could be working on this for a month. He'd be up to version 23 or 50 or whatever. And if another transmittal is sent, then that will be of version 50. right? So that's the point here, is that this can be a useful tool for creating, hey, these are all the documents as they are today on the 30th, and these documents were updated on the 24th. This is a snapshot in time, and it's an official record of what was sent, if you will, to the people within the project. And that's key. This is just for internal members only, not for external members. Now, an internal member can download the zip file and then send the zip file out to someone else. Absolutely, you can do that. And it's a nice, easy way to group relevant documents as part of a specific transmittal. That's really what this would be used for. So with that, I just want to, that's really our conclusion of what we wanted to show today, so we can open it up for any questions.